now that are going on. I think that a really good indicator of what's happening in our city is our sales tax receipts. Because that kind of shows the vitality of how the businesses are doing and what's going on. And I get a sales tax report, or we get a sales tax report 2 times a month from the state. They collect the taxes and then rebate them back to the city. And our last report was of May 22nd. And that indicated that our sales tax receipts were up 8% from a year ago. So that's a big number, a good number.
Great.
The one before that, the report before that, 2 weeks before that, was a 10% number. So that's the difference of right now $213,000 more right now than we had in last year at this time. And we can do a lot of good with $213,000. So I hope it stays that way through the end of the year. Last year we were about at 3% overall when we ended up the year. So this is looking good. And just personally, it seems to me that there's a lot of activity around town, and that's healthy. My wife and I were out at Runnings a couple weeks ago, buying some things, and right in front of us, man, the lady had a whole cart full of stuff, and they checked it out, and I couldn't help but hear when they said your bill is $773. So that's, we get quite a few of them, it really makes it good. I would like to give some compliments also to the Chamber of Commerce. As you know, last year, Christmas time, they did a Shop Huron campaign, and it was extremely successful. You could see it in our sales tax numbers. They encouraged people to buy Huron, and I try to, every group I talk to, I try to encourage people to buy Huron. There's probably some things that you can't buy in Huron, but most of the things that you need, you can buy in Huron. So I would encourage you all to, when you're looking for purchases, to make sure that you patronize our local merchants. It not only helps them, but it helps the city. And money that the city makes in sales tax is used to provide all those services that you expect from city government: police, fire, roads, water, streets, sewer, all the infrastructure, the libraries, and all those things that make living in Huron better. So keep doing what you're doing and try to shop here as much as you can. Chuck asked me about recycling, and that's Commissioner Harrington's department, but I asked him to just give me a few numbers here, and I'll tell you these are numbers from May, as of the end of May. We have about 1,968 recyclable containers out now in our community. The weekly average in May collected was 6.85 tons in the residential area and 4.5 ton from commercial collection, which amounts to 11.35 ton of recyclables. Those recyclables, of course, are kept out of our garbage tonnage that we must ship to Pier. That's where we take our garbage, and that's about a 9% reduction in the amount of things that we have to haul to Pier. And they charge us there, of course, for a tipping fee to bury our garbage. So that's a good percent, but we'd like to see it up to around 25% if we could eventually. So I would encourage everyone again to recycle. It's easy. We let you just throw everything in a barrel, and we come and pick it up. So it's really not hard to do. So it again, it helps our environment, and it also helps the cost of taking care of all of our garbage. The next thing I'd like to touch on is this is the construction season, and I know most people don't realize Wisconsin from 14th to 9th. Sunrise Drive, Ohio to Illinois. Campbell Drive, 20th to 21st Street. 4th Street Southeast, Idaho to Simmons. 5th Street Southeast, Idaho to Simmons. 8th Street Southeast, Idaho to Long Ridge. Riverview Drive, Long Ridge to 18th. 8th Street Southwest, Nicollet to Millette. And then this fall, we're going to do the worst probably streets in town. There's 3rd Street from Ohio to Dakota. We're going to do 3 blocks there, and then we'll also do the sewer and water while we're doing it. We're also going to do Simmons Southeast from 9th to 13th, and 13th Street Southeast from Frank to Simmons, and 9th Street from Frank to Long Ridge. Those will be overlaid. Water mains put in, we budgeted $900,000, almost $1 million. And we're doing Kansas Northeast from 7th to 4th, Simmons Southeast, 9th to 13th, Dakota North, 6th to 4th, and that water main is bored in. I don't know if you drove up there when they were doing that, but we tried a new process so that they don't have to dig them in. They actually have a machine that they bore a hole. The boring goes through, and they do a block at a time, I think 400 feet. Is that right, Gary? So 400 feet at a time. When the bore gets done, they hook onto the pipe, which is all connected in 50-foot chunks. It's connected up above ground. They hook onto it with this machine, and then they pull it back through the hole that it just bored. And while it's being pulled back, there's also a slurry that goes in there. It's bentonite and water, and I don't know what all they put in it. But it actually, when it hardens, it forms a case around the pipe also to protect it. So it went fairly well, except for a few rocks that we hit. And in that case, they had to dig a hole, pull the rock out, go through. But they can bore around corners. They have attachments they put on the drill, and if they want to go to the right, they'll go right or left, up or down, and they can get around some rocks that way. But it was really interesting process, and it should save us some money by doing it that way. We're also doing manhole linings. Instead of replacing manholes, we're lining them. We budgeted $150,000 for that, and about 60% of the city will be completed after this year. We're doing 82 this year, and most of them are in the southeast part of town. And we'll be done, hopefully we'll be done with that project in about 3 more years. Sewer linings, we budgeted $800,000. We're going to do about 4.5 miles, mainly in the southeast part of town. Concrete replacement of ADA ramps. We budgeted about $600,000, and that will do 32 intersections. And they're going to be in the same areas as our water main. So when we dig up or do some work like that, by federal law, we have to make the corners ADA accessible. And now I think for this year's bid, it was around $17,000 per intersection. So it's a big cost to do them, but they have to be done. And the company that we hired this year, if you notice in places where they're doing it, the company looks like they're doing really good work. They're from Aberdeen, and not only do they do nice cement work, they're also backfilling in where they had to dig out with pretty good dirt. It looks like it's screened, and they're doing a nice job of leveling.
Wrong.
Mary could probably tell you what it looks like when it's not so good. So.
Yeah.
But I think this company is doing a really nice job. It's a different company than we've had, right? So, the next thing I wanted to touch on is some good news for Huron. I've been in contact with the railroad that has bought out the DM&E. It's the sidings will be installed in 2015. A 10,000-foot siding at a greenfield site immediately west of Huron, and then 7,400-foot passing track at the Aurora siting. So these two sightings are going to make it easier for their trains to haul loads around. So then the other part that affects Huron, they're going to be upgrading approximately 10 miles of line track east of Huron. It includes replacing the old 100-pound jointed rail with new 115-pound continuous welded rail and installing 7,550 new ties. The 100-pound rail was largely replaced between 1920 and 1930, and it has reached the end of its economic life. So that'll be a good upgrade for our railroad tracks. I mentioned what about our city commission and the roles that they play in our government. But another aspect of our government is we have lots of volunteer commissions and boards. And I just want to encourage people, if you have any interest on serving on any of those boards, that you contact one of the commissioners, myself, or call City Hall and put you on the list, because when we have openings on those boards, if we have people to call, it's nice to just have a list so we can call people and see if they're still interested. So I would encourage you to do that. There's some of the boards and commissions we have are the Airport Board, Civil Service Board, Community Garden Committee, Community Improvement Committee, Electrical Board, Golf Course Advisory Board, Green Energy Task Force, Historic Preservation Commission, Lincoln Riverfront Development Committee, the Library Board, Parks and Rec Board, Planning Commission, Public Safety Committee, Sidewalk Task Force, and there's probably some more out there that I don't have on this list. So if you have any desire to do that, please give us a call. Splash Central, maybe if you've driven by there, you see that it's open now. We have a new manager for Splash Central. Again, this is Commissioner Harrington's charge, but we have a new manager. Her name is Beadle. She's a recent graduate from SDSU with a degree in park management, I think, and specifically she's worked around pools for a long time, but since she was in high school and college. And she's an extremely talented young lady who we have high hopes for here. She's very personable, gets along well with people, and we think she's a great addition to our city. So she does kind of look like one of the kids that we hire too. She really is a go-getter. I tell you, she came in and fit right in with the people, and she was pretty soon, from not knowing anybody, she's friends with everybody. So we really like what we see so far with Kyle. Our pool opened the weekend before Memorial Day, Memorial Day weekend, and we all know that the weather wasn't very good there, so we didn't really have a good run. I think we were only open about 4 hours on that weekend. But it's open now for the summer since last weekend. We've had, the weather hasn't been real cooperative yet, but the days where the weather's nice, they've had really good crowds there. So I would encourage you to spread the word. It's a great place for kids to have fun, and adults too. So take your kids, grandkids, and yourself out to Splash Central and have a good time there. Part of our plan for the Jim River, we did a master plan for there, and to start it off this year, we decided to appropriate $500,000 and to do 3 things just to get the plan started. The first thing we did is we thought that the old swimming pool, which had been sitting idle for about 3-4 years, needed to be torn down. There was no way to repurpose it, and so we see now if you drive by there, it's all sown with grass, and it'll be part of the master plan when we get to that area. But at least the old pool isn't sitting there as an eyesore. The second part that we knew that needed to be torn down or taken care of or repurposed was the old water treatment plant. That's the building, the brick building on 3rd Street right before you get to the 3rd Street Bridge. And we've looked at it, we've had consultants look at it, we've asked citizens for ideas, and we really did not come up with anything to repurpose that building. So we are going to embark on to tear it down, and we budgeted money to do that this year. The first thing that we had to do is check for asbestos in the building, and when they checked for asbestos, we hired a firm to do that. They found that the asbestos that is in there is what they call friable asbestos or non-friable, one or the other. And you don't have to take it out, you can just demolish it and then spray water over it so that it doesn't spread into the air. Similar to what they did when they tore down the college. But as they were looking for asbestos, they found another problem. Way back in the corner in one of the rooms that in the bowels of the water treatment plant, there was a water switch that was a mercury switch, controlled by mercury. And 10 years ago, when they turned the heat off and abandoned the building, there must have been some condensation in the switch. It froze, and then the mercury dripped. I think they said it was a height of about 3 foot off the floor. And the mercury dripped, and when it hit the floor, it splattered. And they said it was only about 1/4 of a cup of mercury. Now, back when I was in high school and grade school, we were in science class, we played with mercury. We rolled it up. But now it's a hazardous material. I wonder what it did to me. Maybe it's obvious to some of you.
You opened that up.
Yeah, I did. Just opened that up. But now we have to have a firm come and clean that up. And our contract, if there is no other contamination other than right in that room, their estimate to clean it up is $9,000. However, if it got tracked, even some of the splatter, who knows where it went. So they will come in and I think with like infrared lights, and they can look and see where it's at. And then if it's tracked all over the place, it'll probably be a bigger bill. Well, I'm sure it'll be a bigger bill. So we're hoping that it was contained in that one room. When that is done, then we'll go to bids on what it'll take to tear that down. We've had just kind of a passing estimate. One firm told us about $150,000 to $200,000 to tear that down. And I thought that was a big number, but maybe it isn't. I don't know. But we'll see when we get the actual bids. One thing that we just changed lately, last Monday, we changed an ordinance about our park department board. It was a board of 5 people, and we've changed that to a board of 7 people. The purpose is we were having trouble at sometimes getting quorums at the board meeting, so we hope with the 7 people we'll be able to get a quorum easier. We also recently changed the fencing ordinance. We run out of time here?
No.
Fencing ordinance, the purpose, there was a lot of changes in it, but the real purpose of the ordinance, fencing ordinance, was to allow fences of varying heights, which were prohibited in our present ordinance, and allow those we were giving variances for them routinely. So we changed the ordinance to allow for the variances that we were given on fences. But we're also requiring on new fences now that they be built at the corners of alleys, that they have a cutoff just like to comment on is, I think there was an article in the paper today, you've probably all read it already. There was some good news from Huron. Dakota Central, which was scheduled to close in July, has now been given a reprieve until sometime in 2016. It's not going to be closed. I have talked to all the congressional delegation. They are trying now to get a resolution passed through Congress. It's called Resolution Number 54, a House resolution. Christine Ohm did sign on to it finally. And what it would do is it would return the standards that the mail service must operate under back to the standards as was set in 2012. And that has to do with same-day delivery, next-day delivery, and it has certain percentages that they have to go by. And so if they will pass that resolution through the House and then on to the Senate, I think that will take that black cloud off of Dakota Central and give those employees some a little bit of breathing room. Right now, I think we have about 40 people left out there at one time. I think it was over 100 people that worked there. So they're talking, I think, about hiring some people back, some maybe the temporary helps. But it'll still be good news. Those are really good blue-collar jobs, good pay and good benefits that we would really miss here if they were gone. So if you talk to the congressional delegation, I would urge you to ask them to pass Resolution 54 and return the standards back to 2012 standards. That's about all I have down there, and I think we are about out of time. Is there any questions? Yes.
Well, first I want to comment, I think the library is doing a really nice job with their summer program, not only for children, which it seems like in the past we focused more on children, but there's a lot of activity over there for adults. And my other is a question. I understand that some cities are giving some assistance to kids into the swimming pool if their families on EBT or some kind of food stamps. And I'm wondering if Huron has any kind of a program set up to assist the children whose families don't have those kind of resources.
It is set up through the United Way, and they have to apply through the United Way to get the assistance. And we donate to that, but we don't have a separate, I don't know.
Okay.
But there is one in place through the United Way.
And they can get those forms at our Park and Rec office up there.
Yep.
In the city hall?
No, at the campus center.
Okay.
At the campus
That's
center.
right.
The Park and Rec office is in the campus
Yep.
center.
And I'm on the United Way Board, as you know.
Yes.
So we are in the process of taking applications, and one of the applications is from the city water park. And so, we are doing our agency reviews. I was at agency reviews last night. And so we will be putting together our budget of what we think we can raise. So whatever you can do to help us raise those funds, those monies go back to the city. So
Along that same line, there's, the city does help support different things, such as the Humane Society, People's Transit, and there's others. But I would like to mention People's Transit because they are trying to raise some money now. They are coming before the city commission next Monday and wanting up to us, the city, to consider increasing our donation. Right now, we donate $500 a month, $6,000 a year to People's Transit. And that's an organization that's very important to Huron. We have lots of medical rides, lots of kids rides through those, and as you know, we don't have taxis, so you can't get same-day rides through there, but you can schedule. You have to schedule a day, or at least a day in advance, but you can get rides through People Transit for everything. So. Any?
Question about recycling. glass down to Sioux Falls, to the recycling, Millennium Recycling down there. But in some places, what they do, rather than mix it with a single stream, they will put out a container that you're encouraged to take your bottles there and throw them in so they break. And then, when the thing is full, then they can take it somewhere, but it's all glass in there.
Yeah, we've talked about it a little bit, but I would like to pursue that further too. I don't know, Gary, do you have anything new on it?
The original contract we signed with our recycling people down there, they're not ready for us to do that yet. They want to see how our recycling is working. But we're to the point now, we should be talking to them about that. So next time they come up for a contract, we'll be talking to them, I'm sure.
Oh, that'd be great, because then I'd have room for other stuff in my car when
But even if we just had one spot.
Yeah, that's exactly right. One spot is all you need for that.
Because behind City Hall, we do have containers now that you can bring your recyclables down there.
Got some glass bottles
Or, if
right now
you live in
that
the
I
country, you can bring them out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
What I
throw
have
'em
seen
away,
is it's
but
more
I
like a
probably
container
just gonna
thing,
have
like they have in Millennium for single stream. When I go down there, the bottles go into single stream, and unfortunately, drop them in, they break.
Yeah.
So somebody's picking that stuff out. They told me they take glass, so I put it in there. But better to have a thing that only has glass in it. And,
That's the company that we contract with didn't want us to throw glass in with their single stream
yeah.
because
my
they
daughter's been
say
buying
it contaminates their
stuff
product.
like syrup
Well, and
and
it's
honey and
dangerous
stuff
for
like
anybody
that.
who's working on the
And
assembly line
comes in
taking their
glass
stuff out of there.
containers.
I suppose that's better.
Any other questions? No, thank you very much.
Do you like it?
Yeah, it's all right, yeah. It's trying to make me healthy.
And
Yeah,
since
yeah.
you already had the
Not good.
announcements at the beginning,
Preservatives.
Not necessarily with.
to see you all